in this world's too much. I swallowed all I could.
Welcome back, everybody, to Niko's Comic Book Hauls and Reviews. I'm your host, Niko, from the Late Night Chat Network. If this is your first time seeing this video on our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you like what you saw here today, please hit that like button. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified whenever any of our videos go up on the channel. Apologies for the late posting of this video. This is going to be covering my January 2021 comic book hauls and reviews. So I'll be talking about and giving a quick review on all of the books that I hauled during the month of January 2021 that I have read, and all the things that I didn't read as well. This gives me kind of a chance to not only do comic book reviews for you guys like I used to do on the podcast. I used to do Trade Talk and Weekly Wine Comic Time, to give you some thoughts on the book, maybe give you an idea of whether or not it's worth picking up, and also to show off, obviously, the huge hauls that I normally grab every month of new comic book collected editions for you guys. And thanks again. Thank you for watching if you are checking this out. And the February haul for 2021 will be uploaded about a week after this one goes up. So again, apologies for the late upload of this, but without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first we'll get started on the things that I've read that I ended up buying in January of 2021 as part of my haul. And I'll give you a quick little review on each one of them. First off, we got Black Cat Volume 3, All Dressed Up. This is written by Jed MacKay with art by C.F. Villa on issues 11 to 12, which is the only issues that were collected in this one of the main series. And then we got the Black Cat Annual, which was also included in this, as well as the Free Comic Book Day 2020. Now, for the price tag on this, which I believe was $15.99, it's a little bit steep for this much material. I mean, the annual, even though it's like maybe a little bit oversized, the Free Comic Book Day is not many pages at all, so really what you're getting is maybe 4 issues worth of material in this trade paperback. Now, I believe they thought maybe they were going to cancel the series, but now there's like a mini-series going on in the current King in Black storyline that is going on, and it looks like the series is going to continue afterwards. I really enjoy this series. I mean, it doesn't try to be anything that it isn't. It's very simple and fun. It's basically heist stories featuring the Black Cat as she tries to steal from different people in the Marvel Universe. And she's got like a fun little team of characters that end up helping her out on the heist. The art's usually pretty good. The story, it's fun, and it's got some funny dialogue along the way. I think the characterization of Felicia Hardy as the Black Cat is great. In these particular 2 issues, she goes and tries to rob things from Tony Stark. She does end up with an Iron Man type costume in this. And the annual is okay. Those are the 2 issues of the main series. I'm looking forward to the next volume, which I'm sure will include like the King in Black tie-in issues. I've liked this series for what it is. Like I said, it's not trying to be anything, crazy and complex, or try to, it's a fun little romp through the Marvel Universe with the Black Cat. And I think if you like the character, you'll like this series. It's been a pleasant surprise for me. Alright, next up we got The Immortal Hulk, Volume 8, The Keeper of the Door, written by Al Ewing, art by Joe Bennett. Without, maybe spoiling any of the things that are going on in this, if you guys aren't reading this currently, you need to get on this. This is one of the best series to come out in a while, and one of the best versions of the Hulk for that matter. It's been like a crazy, mostly body horror type suspenseful mystery throughout the whole storyline so far that Al Ewing has set up for this version of the Hulk. Basically this Hulk who can't die, and you find out there's all this, like, he's somehow been able to string along all of his supporting characters thus far. The leader shows up in this one, essentially. He's kind of gone through his whole like rogues gallery and like family of different Hulk type characters, and cleverly has like worked in every single character, I think, that more popular character that's been throughout the Hulk's history, at least to my knowledge. I haven't read a whole lot of Hulk comics. But, you know, I've read quite a few runs at this point, more modern stuff, and this is definitely one of the more unique takes on it. And I think it's only supposed to be going to about 50 issues, so I'm looking forward to the conclusion on this one. This collected issues 36 to 40, and I'm sure there's going to be an eventual omnibus for this run, which I'll probably have to double dip on. I couldn't wait. I didn't pick these up in issues initially, but this is one of those series that everyone ended up talking about when it did come out. So I ended up picking up the trade paperbacks, and yeah, like I said, I'll probably eventually double dip when an omnibus comes out of this, because this is a great run of the Hulk. All right, next up, we got Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, this miniseries came out not too long ago. I'm sure they lined this up in time for originally when the show was supposed to come out, but because of COVID, everything kind of got pushed back quite a bit. You know, and I'm sure that's probably why they had tried to align this miniseries with the show that was originally supposed to come out before the new year at that time. But yeah, this is Falcon and Winter Soldier, cut off one head. This one is written by Derek Landy and art by a great artist who I can't say that I've seen his work elsewhere. It may have popped up in other things that I've read through Marvel and maybe just didn't realize that it was this person's name. But I'll definitely be on the lookout for him in the future now. This is Federico Vicentini. Apologies if I said that wrong. His art is great. Honestly, this is a fun little mini series. If you're familiar with these characters and their relationship, then, you know, I think that he did a good job of capturing that within this series. There was funny moments, action-packed, basically the whole way through. Very witty dialogue throughout. Fantastic art. I can't say enough. This was an unexpected surprise. I quite liked this. The only complaint I had about this was that the ending, I think, felt like a little wrapped up a little fast. I could have maybe used one more issue on this. For whatever reason, it was well paced throughout, and then by the end, they kind of just wrapped it up. And I felt that the ending, while okay, was a bit unsatisfactory compared to the rest of the series. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I mean, even kind of picked up on some of the, I think, there was that Winter Soldier miniseries that they had like a year or two ago as well that had come out that was quite enjoyable, and I think it picked up on some of the characterizations of the Winter Soldier through that story and maybe what he was up to at that point in time going into this miniseries. It kind of referenced some other things that I guess had happened to these guys prior to this. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I mean, I'm a fan of these characters. If you guys are going to be a fan of the show coming out soon, I definitely would check out this little mini-series. It's, it's not a huge investment. And yeah, collected Falcon and Winter Soldier 1 to 5, this trade paperback. So yeah, definitely was a good read. Now, next up, we got That Texas Blood. This is written by Chris Condon and artist Jacob Phillips. This came out through Image Comics. It says Volume 1. I'm not sure if they're going to be continuing with this past this volume. I didn't get the feeling that they were going to continue by the end of it, but it's possible. I didn't love this one, to be honest with you. The main draw for me was Jacob Phillips on this one for his art. Jacob Phillips, of course, the son of Sean Phillips, longtime collaborator with Ed Brubaker, whose work I love. And his son's got a somewhat similar art style. It is much different as well in certain areas. But he's been doing some of the coloring on the work, Sean Phillips, his father's work with Ed Brubaker the past couple of years. And he's also had like a lot of really nice pinups in the back of the single issues of their series when they've come out. And I'm sure they've also been collected on like, some of the collections that they've been coming out with as well. So that was the big draw for me checking this out, because I really liked his art style, and being the son of Sean Phillips, I was interested to see what his first series outside of, at least from what I know, outside of anything that Ed Brubaker has done, his first other comic work. I wanted to kind of be there for that. And while the art was good throughout this, I'm not familiar with the writer of this, Chris Condon. I don't know if he's like somebody from TV or maybe new to comics, because I know a lot of TV guys also are involved with comics these days. They may be writing things that they want to do for TV pitches as well, and eventually that's usually the route that they go sometimes, these series. But this was your kind of basic run-of-the-mill, like, man goes back to, in this case, somewhere in Texas, like a town where he had, like, a lot of, he left a lot of people of his past behind, past relationships with people, and, you know, a lot of dark secrets back in Texas, somewhere that he didn't want to go back to, but he had to in this because of of a murder. And you know, he goes down there, and then another murder goes down, and he basically gets wrapped up in everything that's happening. And by the end of it, you know, I won't spoil nothing, but it just for me, there were some obvious things that were gonna happen that you kind of see from coming from a mile away. And the story, you know, it started off well, but as it went on, I just lost interest somewhat in it. So, unfortunately, if there is more of this, I probably won't be sticking with it. But, you know, if you're into crime stories and you like the artist on here, Jacob Phillips, which, again, if you want to even just give a look at his art, it's worth it in that regard, at the very least. And it is collecting 6 issues of this series for $9.99, so it's a good deal. So if you want to take the chance on it, maybe you'll like it more than I did. It just didn't do it for me, unfortunately. All right, next up we have Mountainhead, published by IDW Comics. This is written by John Lees, art by Ryan Lee. It's about a boy who basically was orphaned, and somebody raised him, but then he found out his actual birth parents were these people that ended up taking him up into the mountains, and it's called Mountainhead because that's something that his father, his supposed father, which he turns out was somebody who abducted him as a young child. He finds out that it's not his actual father, but his real parents live up in this mountain town. That when this is revealed, the parents take him back to this mountain town where they're from, and all chaos ensues there because all these like weird creatures basically live or make themselves known that you know, basically people just start transforming that are in this town. So it's basically you know, it feels very it's like horror and mix of mystery as well. Real big page turner, a lot of body horror type stuff in this. That's great for Ryan Lee's art. I mean, he's really able to shine with the stuff that he draws in this series. Which is a lot of like disgusting, like looking type creatures, very disturbing stuff as you go on, and yeah, this just kind of kept you guessing. You really didn't know where to go with this one, and each issue it kind of just built the suspense. And if this flew under your radar and it was something that you didn't come across originally when it was coming out, this did get delayed due to COVID. A couple of issues had come out of this miniseries prior to COVID hitting, and then comics, of course, didn't ship out for a couple of months. So by the time that this series had wrapped up, with all the delays and the fact that the paperback didn't come out almost till like a year later, I think that a lot of people may have missed out on a really good series. So I definitely suggest checking this one out. It is a creator-owned title that IDW published, and yeah, it's great. It's horror, mystery all mixed into one, with great, fantastic indie-looking art, a lot of horrific, kind of grotesque, you know, violence and scenes and creatures, and really inventive, and definitely keeps you guessing. I can't say enough good things about this one, Mountainhead. This was a very pleasant surprise, although it was on my radar because, like I said, I'm a fan of the artist Ryan Lee for some time now. This was great. And you got X-Ray Robot. This is the miniseries by Mike Allred. It's a 4-issue miniseries. It was printed by Dark Horse Comics. This is basically a time travel story drawn by Mike Allred. I'm a huge fan of his artwork, and if you are too, I would definitely check this out. I really hope Dark Horse Comics doesn't bring out a library edition, because they've been bringing out a library edition for a lot of their, you know, better miniseries or series that they've been publishing over the last few years. And while I love that format so much, and I would love to have Mike Allred's art in that format, oversized, I know that I will probably double dip and end up picking that up after having read this paperback version of it. So in a way I do want it, but in a way at the same time, you know, I think this is good enough for me for now. So we'll see what happens. But don't be surprised if you see me flipping through a library edition somewhere down the road on this this channel. So yeah, I just love his pop art style. I think he's great, and he's definitely got some like old comic books style like sensibilities, like in his storytelling chops. Like, and I've not always loved everything he's ever written. I've read some Mad Men and some other things he's done, and I know that he's drawn for a lot of writers as well as just the artist. But his stuff that he's written, I haven't always loved. I think that that was what was great about this, is because it works for this. Like, the story was hard to follow at times. Of course, it was a crazy time travel type story, and usually when time travel stories, when you have time travel happen in stories, it does get very confusing and wacky. So I followed it just fine and had fun with it still, nonetheless. So but I do think he has improved as a story, not only obviously over the years as an artist, but as a storyteller as well. So I think that this is probably one of the better things he's actually written that I've read. So I was pleasantly surprised by that, and I had a lot of fun with this one. Of course, his art is great as always, and his wife Laura Allred provided the colors on this, and they've been working together forever, and they just complement each other's art so well. They just, the way they play off of each other, yeah, they're just a perfect fit. And you wouldn't want to see him get colored by anybody else, quite honestly, at this point in his career. Yeah, it just works so well, and looks great, and it was a fun story. So yeah, definitely check out X-Ray Robot if you're a fan of Mike Allred. If you're a fan of time travel stories, I definitely would suggest checking this one out. And then we got Promethea, Book 3. This is the 20th Anniversary Deluxe Edition of Alan Moore's and J.H. Williams III's masterpiece, really, especially for J.H. Williams. This is a Alan Moore comic that came out from his America's Best Comics line back in the day, probably, I guess, throughout the 90s. I didn't read it off the rack or anything, but I ended up having the trade paperbacks of these. The Absolute editions are very out of print and very hard to find and expensive if you do find them on the aftermarket. So I was delighted to hear when they were bringing out these deluxe editions of it, because J.H. Williams' art really... he flips through so many different art styles within this Promethea series. For the art alone, you really deserve like the most deluxe and absolute format that you can get. So like, if I was able to get my hands on the Absolute editions, I would have grabbed that over this, even because it's a bigger format, bigger art. But this I'm very happy to own this over the paperbacks that I used to have. This completes the Promethea series. It was collected in 3 deluxe editions and worth every penny, honestly, guys. Like, this is again, it gets very convoluted and complicated somewhat towards the end of his run on this series, I would say, Alan Moore, because he has so much grandiose ideas and thoughts on things and really breaks down everything so well. But if you do follow somewhat of the through line of the story that's throughout this tale, it is a really good one, worth your time, worth checking out. It's Alan Moore, and yeah, I think Alan Moore and J.H. Williams, I think that alone would sell me on this book. You don't need to take my advice for checking this one out, but yeah, trust me, you should if you have yet to read this. This was great. Okay, and then I decided to check out some of the TKO Studio comics that I had missed from the first wave. I guess actually the first and second wave. They've had about 3 waves of comics at this point. The only 2 that I had checked out based on the creators involved was Sentient by Jeff Lemire, which came out of the second wave of comics, and then Sarah by Garth Ennis and Steve Epting, which came out of the first wave of comics. So this one's from the first wave of TKO Studio Comics. They're a newer comic company over the last couple of years that basically they have this format where you can purchase all the issues as one purchase, like they all come out at once, available to the market. You can buy it off their website or many fine comic book stores, and or you can buy a large oversized paperback. Like, the paperback is the size of a deluxe edition essentially. So they are a nice format for me, because you don't normally see the paperbacks oversized like this. Obviously, would prefer a hardcover normally, but that is a lot of the time because the hardcovers are this deluxe size treatment, right? To have it as a paperback, it doesn't bother me at all. It's easy to read in this size. They usually collect all 6 issues of different series by different creators like this, and this was from the first wave of titles that they came out with. Goodnight Paradise, written by Joshua Dysart and art by Alberto Ponticelli. Now, these guys, I think, also worked on Unknown Soldier, from what I had heard years ago. I've seen Alberto Ponticelli's artwork on some other things I've read over the years. Most notably, I remember him from working with Jeff Lemire. I think he worked with him on the Shade, Frankenstein Agent of Shade series from the New 52 when that launched. But I can't say that I've read too much things by Joshua Dysart. This was good. I liked this. This was one of the more hype books that came out of that first wave that I was told to check out. It's basically a mystery story, definitely noirish. It features a detective of sorts, which the detective in this story is a homeless man living on the streets of Venice. And, there's a young girl that he comes across that's one of the new homeless kids that's living on the streets in the area in Venice Beach. And all of a sudden, one day, he finds out that she got murdered. So he takes it upon himself with his, him knowing the community so well for living on the streets there for so long, and using his connections and know-how as he's kind of stumbling around trying to survive as a homeless man, and with an alcohol addiction, trying to solve this murder essentially. And it's a pretty tragic story. I wouldn't say this is an uplifting one. It definitely has a lot of comments on society and the way they look at the homeless and societal kind of problems, and just a look at, I guess, at maybe what that kind of lifestyle would be like. But yeah, I think it was pretty well written, and kept me guessing the whole way through. And without spoiling the ending, yeah, I definitely didn't expect some of the reveals that basically of who the killer was, what the motives were, how everything worked out towards the end. So very, very interesting. I definitely would recommend this, but like I said, it's not a tale for the faint of heart. But that is Goodnight Paradise from TKO Studios. And next from TKO Studios, another book that I quite enjoyed. This is Pound for Pound. I think this came out of the second wave of TKO books. This is written by Natalie Chaidez and art by Andy Belanger, who also, I think, other than being a comic artist in his spare time, actually wrestles as well. I believe in his bio back here. I mean, I hadn't known this before, but in his bio back here, he even talks about that. He works as a freelance cartoonist, illustrator based in Montreal. And he also he wrestles under the name Bob the Animal Anger. So that's interesting. I pointed that out for the reason because the character in this book is an MMA fighter, and the fight sequences I felt throughout this were very well done. So maybe that's because he actually wrestles or takes an interest in that kind of thing, that he was able to capture that so well on the page. This is basically like a grindhouse revenge story. There's this girl, I guess, that some traumatic experience she had when she was younger has haunted her to this day. She basically becomes an MMA fighter to basically fight the demons, essentially, by whooping people's ass. And she lives with her sister. She's basically like the mother to her sister, no parents kind of in the picture. And something from her past comes back to haunt her once again. She gets involved with some people that she shouldn't be involved with, almost like a Snatch scenario where if you watch the movie Snatch, like she's supposed to throw her fight, and then she owes a lot of money to the person who is betting on her, essentially, and then she kind of, like I said, she gets involved as a result with the wrong people, owing certain people something. Her head's on the line from there, and to someone ends up taking her little baby sister. So from there, she kind of goes on a killing spree and to seek out revenge on these people. And I guess, again, discover some things about herself and try to deal with her past. So the art was fantastic in this. Again, non-stop action throughout. Fun story. I had a great time reading it. A lot of crazy shit pops up on their journey, on their adventure, that they encounter throughout. So it kept me very interested the whole way through. So yeah, that's another TKO Studios oversized paperback that collects the 6 issues of this story pound for pound. And last but certainly not least, we got The Fearsome Dr. Fang, which was from the first wave of TKO Studio books. This was written by Se Chun and Mike Weiss, art by Dan McDade. This is basically like a pulp adventure, like a pulp comic, like old school, like, you know, like Green Hornet or Black Beetle, like any of those type of characters. So yeah, if you like old school pulp adventure comics or novels, you definitely would dig this. I mean, it is about the fearsome Dr. Fang, but also about a cop that ends up teaming up with Dr. Fang and his associate, which you find out Dr. Fang is actually not the villain of this story, although he wants the world to believe that he is. There's another villain that they end up having to take down in their journey throughout this story, and the cop that teams up with them is trying to avenge his dead brother, because he first thought that Dr. Fang was the reason why his brother got killed, but then they find out it's actually because of somebody else, and it kind of goes from there. There's more things that I don't want to spoil throughout, but if you're a fan of, like I said, pulp comics, or like this felt even very Indiana Jones-ish throughout, if very swashbuckling, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was definitely treasure hunting type stuff going on, adventuring across different countries, old school gadgets, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed this a hell of a lot, and the art was just fantastic, and it was fun. This is a fearsome Dr. Fang. All right, next up we got The Big Tease. This is all portraits by Bruce Timm. This is basically, I'm not going to flip through this one because there's a lot of pictures of half-naked women throughout it. Definitely check out this book, though, if you are a fan of Bruce Timm's art and you're not a prude to maybe his pin-up girl art that he likes to do in his own spare time. He's sold and drawn many of these drawings in his, in his personal life. I know, like, because he doesn't really do much comic book interior work. Bruce Timm, of course, the artist, designer of all the, Batman animated series look of those characters, and what he's most known for, but he does a lot of good girl art, like pin-up kind of things with half-naked girls, and they're all really well done. So if that kind of thing doesn't bother you, just to have an art collection by Bruce Timm, because he doesn't do much comics interior work, is something nice to have. So yeah, The Big Tease. This is, it says a naughty and nice collection on it here, and it features a bunch of, like, some of the smaller sold out collections that, again, if you were to buy them on the aftermarket, the original printings of, it would cost you a lot of money. But this one, they just recently brought this out, probably, several months ago now, and I didn't pick it up when it first came out. But I ended up going back and picking this one up, and I'm glad I did. It says here over 260 women drawn in pencil, ink, or color fill these pages. And it's nice to have, once again, an oversized paperback format. So yeah, this is The Big Tease by Bruce Timm. It's a nice art book. If you like the guy's art, take a look at it, check it out. And I've previously read this material, but this is Captain America. This is the first omnibus of Ed Brubaker. I never owned the omnibus of this work, though. I'm so glad that they're finally reprinting this. This has been out of print for years. There's 5 omnibuses that collect Ed Brubaker's whole run on Captain America. I've only read what's available in this first omnibus because there was an ultimate collection, basically like a fat paperback that collected the first 25 issues of Ed Brubaker's run, which contained the Return of the Winter Soldier stories, which of course was in the movies, essentially in the Marvel movies. They talked about the return of Bucky, the Winter Soldier, which Ed Brubaker is the one that told that story, right? That brought him back, I guess, from the Golden Age or wherever he was last seen. So I've read what's in this, but I just picked this up because I got rid of the paperback long ago, and the rest of his run on this character, it's hard to collect. There's never been any complete collections other than the Winter Soldier one, or unless you individually got the issues or like the singles, the 5-issue trade paperbacks or premiere hardcovers that they used to do back in the day. So I'm happy. I'm so happy to have it in this format. So they've already solicited the second omnibus volume of Ed Brubaker's stuff on Captain America, and I hope to continue picking those up. I hope they reprint all 5 of them. I'm sure they will at this point because they've already done the first 2, and if they sell well enough, which I'm sure again they will because it's Ed Brubaker and he's gone on to do plenty of other great things after his tenure at Marvel. I'm just excited to finally read the rest of his run. So I ended up having to grab this. Steve Epting on art, Mike Perkins as well. Just some great artwork and storytelling throughout this. And this Winter Soldier story is great. So as soon as that second omnibus comes out, I'll be rereading this and then reading that next one. Because, I can't wait. I'm a huge fan of Ed Brubaker and what I had read so far throughout the material that's contained in this omnibus. So if you've yet to check it out, hopefully it's not out of print already again, but if it is soon, I wouldn't be surprised. So this is Captain America, the first omnibus by Ed Brubaker. Okay, and this concludes the stuff that I had read that I also had picked up throughout the month of January 2021. Again, I previously read the material that's contained in this omnibus in single issues as they were coming out. This collects all of James Tynion IV's run on Detective Comics. So this is during the Rebirth era. So when Detective Comics came out during DC's Rebirth, James Tynion IV was the writer of that, and there's a few great artists on here: Eddie Barrows, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, Ebir Ferreira, Raul Fernandez. Now, if you like team books and you like the Bat family, this is the book for you. So this was basically, that's what it was a story where Batman basically got like a bunch of the Bat family members to basically start a team with him. And there is a lot of lies and deceit and problems within the family, as there normally is with the Bat family. And even in normal families as well outside of comics sometimes. So but there's like deceptions and he is Batman, so there's always that kind of stuff going on as well, right? He keeps secrets from even the people that are close to him sometimes for their protection, or basically to accomplish something that he's not ready to share with the group. So also, Clayface became a member of this group. He got him to basically reform in this series and become a good guy for a short period of time and actually help the group out as one of the members. So seeing him throughout this, by the end of this, they changed the status quo of his character again. He's no longer, as far as I know, a good guy. Or even on the playing field. I don't know if they've been using it at all more recently, although he is on the Batman title, the main Batman title now, so I would be excited to see if he ever comes back or picks up on some of the threads of his character from this series. But using a villain like Clayface as a good guy on this team, I thought was really clever of him to do, and he just writes all these characters really well, and their relationships with each other, and there was good art throughout. I can't say enough good things about this Detective Comics run. It's definitely one of my favorite, more modern Batman runs that has come out during my time back reading comics over the last, 10 or so years now. I know everybody likes to talk about Scott Snyder's Batman run, but, this guy is somebody that came up under Snyder, that Snyder definitely ushered him into the comics biz, and he is now on the main Batman title. And I gotta say, he kind of started off slow on that, but it's now picking up some steam, his run. But this Detective Comics run, this is great stuff. I really, really enjoyed his run, Detective Comics. I love the fact that they came out with an omnibus that collects the whole thing here, so I definitely think it's worth checking out. Okay, now we're moving on to the books that I have yet to read. So no reviews on these. I'll just show them off a little bit for you guys. These are also books that I ended up hauling in the month of January 2021. This is Witch Hat Atelier, Volume 7. This is a manga that I read. I'm actually behind on this. I have to read Volume 6 and 7 as soon as I get a chance. But yeah, this is like a fun, basically... I don't want to compare it to Harry Potter because I know everyone kind of does that. But yes, this is a magic school type book with wizards and apprentices essentially. But in this world, the wizards have to draw their spells. So they have to draw things on paper or whatever they can use and bring these spells to life. And the artwork is fantastic in this. It's a fun, heartwarming tale about these kids that are going to this wizard school, and about a person who basically fell into it that was never ready for this life. Definitely didn't grow up in it, but unfortunately, something happened to her mother, and she became a wizard now to learn how to free her from this prison. Essentially, that someone put some dark magic on her and her life as a result that ended up getting her mom imprisoned. So yeah, so that's, and then yeah, it's just a very fun adventure comic with great characters, fantastic detailed art, and it's been really fun so far. So if you want to try something different, even if this is your first foray into manga and this sounds interesting to you, definitely check this out. This is Witch Hat Atelier, printed by Kodansha Comics. All right, next up we got Doctor Strange Epic Collection. This is Volume 4 in the Epic Collection line. This is the Steve Englehart Doctor Strange run, and this collects Doctor Strange 6 to 28 and Annual Number 1 and Tomb of Dracula 44. And I'm sure he crossed over in that issue, and that's why it's included here. I love these Marvel Epic collections. It's great bang for your buck. You pay $40 for one of these, and you get a few $100s worth of material. If you're really into the title character of any of these Epic collections, it's definitely worth your time and money being spent. And if you want to collect a piece of this character's history or some of the better, more well-regarded runs, definitely pick up some of these Epic collections. The only thing with these is that they don't print them in order. So this is Volume 4 in the Epic line for this character, but then they might go and print Volume 16 as the next volume that comes out. So the plan is for them to print everything of a certain character's series up to a certain point in time, which I think in the 90s or early 2000s is what they've kind of set out to do. So at this point, there's several Doctor Strange collections already out. But this is during the era where there's not a lot of things printed in stuff that's in print currently. So I'll be checking this out and reading these for the first time. So I'm really looking forward to that. Next up, we got the Essential Judge Dredd, The Apocalypse War, from 2000 AD. They do the complete case files for Judge Dredd, which are the fatter, more phone book kind of size paperbacks that they do in black and white. Mostly, I think some of the future ones are in color now, but they that kind of chronologically collects all of his stuff. I haven't read too much Judge Dredd, and it's kind of hard to tell where to start. I know a lot of people are saying check out Case Files Volume Number 5, which I did end up picking up for that reason, because it has some of the better stories and kind of gives you a starting point. But they started releasing these Essential line paperbacks, which again are oversized paperbacks. They're wider and taller than your normal size standard size trade paperback, and they're collecting some of the best stories over the years of Judge Dredd. So I figured I'd check out a couple of these and see if some of these strike my fancy. If there's certain, if I'm really into Judge Dredd because I haven't read too much of his stuff before, then I could start maybe collecting the case files. But there's like 20 or 30 volumes of that, so I kind of wanted a little bit of a taste of some of the better stuff that come out of this comic. So yeah, I think they're good for that reason alone. If you just wanted to try out Judge Dredd for the first time, hopefully I'm not too lost by checking out these Essential collections, because they're kind of cherry picking some of the better stories. But if you have an idea of who the character is, I'm sure you'd be fine, hopefully. Yeah, this one it looks like a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. John Wagner, Carlos Esquerra on art. This Essential Judge Dredd Apocalypse War. All right, and here's this starts off a bunch of DC paperbacks I collect of certain well-regarded series. This is Wonder Woman by George Perez, Volume 5. This was previously collected in the Omnibus collections. I didn't end up picking those up when they first came out. I've always heard this is one of the best Wonder Woman well-regarded runs of the character. And George Perez's art, very detailed, very great. I'm sure they would have looked great in those omnibuses, but I did not pick them up initially. So then when they started coming out with these fat paperbacks collecting the stuff, the same material that's in the omnibuses, I figured I'd just pick these up. Now, George Perez isn't drawing it at this point. This is actually Jill Thompson here in these ones, which also a great artist. So, yeah, very much looking forward to checking these out. There might still be one more volume of this before the whole War of the Gods crossover paperback, which he also came out with. So this is volume 5, so there might be one more that will finish out the 3 omnibuses worth of material that George Perez, his run on Wonder Woman. So I'm looking forward to checking this out. Then we got New Teen Titans, Volume 12. Again, I've been collecting all of these in paperback. I kind of missed the boat on the earlier printings of these omnibuses for the New Teen Titans. I know they've since re-released them, but at that point I was already collecting the paperbacks. Volume 12, I think that now we're up to what is collected in the first 4 volumes of the big omnibus hardcovers of this series. But again, Marv Wolfman and for the most part George Perez's run on New Teen Titans. But again, at this point, George Perez has left this book and it's Eduardo Barreto on art for the most part. And I haven't read any of these, but I've still been collecting the paperbacks whenever they're released. It's been a slow and steady release over the last few years, but every time one comes out, I pick it up, and I'm looking forward to jumping in and reading a whole bunch of this at some point. Hopefully I like it, because, and again, this is one of those very well-regarded DC runs. Definitely the run for the Teen Titans everybody points to as the best is the Marv Wolfman stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Likewise, also looking forward to checking out Justice League International. This is book 2, the Bwahaha era of the Justice League. Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis written, and Kevin Maguire on art. Another well-regarded DC run. This is when the Justice League was very unique in the direction approach with the comedy, as well as the different types of characters that were on the team at this point in time. I think this is post-Crisis, so I think that they were in a weird place with some of the members of the team and the continuity of the comics at that time. So I'm really looking forward to diving in. I've read a little bit of the first paperback that came out with the old printings of this, but kudos to DC, because I gotta say, these paperbacks are really fat. I don't know if you can tell by looking at it here, but this is a fat paperback. This is like 600 pages worth of material, just under 600 pages in this one. And between the first volume and this, I think they collected everything that was again contained in the big oversized omnibus, the first one that they came out with. So I hope they continue with these fat paperbacks for the Justice League International, because I'll continue picking these ones up if they come out. And next up, we got some of my favorite Batman stuff coming out today. Are these 2 lines of Batman books from this era that, again, not a lot is collected, and especially not in the order that they've been doing it in. This is Batman the Dark Knight Detective Volume 4. This is the Alan Grant, Norm Brayfogle stuff, and I believe this one's the Detective Comics stuff. Yeah, this is Detective Comics 601 to 611, Detective Comics Annual 2, that's collected in this Volume 4. And I believe this might be also the introduction of Anarchy. He's on the cover here. I know that this is a creation that Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle, if I'm not mistaken, had come up with. So I haven't read too much comics from this era, so I'm really looking forward to checking these out. A lot of them have been, I think, quickly going out of print. So if you have yet to pick these up, maybe start looking for these if you're interested in reading Batman during this era. This is before like all the 90s Nightfall stuff and where it kind of, jumped the shark a little bit with some of the shit that was going on with all the Batman titles at that time. Although there's, that's beloved by a lot of people too, I know. But this stuff just definitely sees, there's Etrigan, Alan Grant, I know, wrote a run on him before Garth Ennis as well. This stuff definitely seems up my alley, and I'm a big fan of Norm Brayfogle. Rest in peace to him. He died a little while, not too long ago. And this looks to be some great stuff. I can't wait to check this out. And then we got Batman: The Caped Crusader Volume 5. This is the other line of Batman books alongside Dark Detective that I believe this is collecting the main title. This collects Batman 466 to 473 and Detective 639 to 640. So this is running concurrently with the Dark Detective line, this Caped Crusader line. Likewise, it's Batman comics from this era and time. You got Peter Milligan on this one, so I'm sure Dark Knight, Dark City, which was also collected in another paperback previously, is in one of these Caped Crusader volumes, if not this one. That's a really good story. And then you got Norman Brayfogle, Jim Aparo. I mean, you can't go wrong. Some great creators on this. This is a great era of Batman from what I've heard, and I can't wait to dive into these. And then you got the very well-regarded Superman, the Man of Steel, John Byrne run. I know a lot of people were disappointed by this because previously they solicited an omnibus DC Comics, but then they canceled it, as they tend to do sometimes. But I'm just happy to own this in these standard size hardcovers that they've been coming out with. And these, you know what? These look pretty awesome on the shelf still, guys. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are disappointed you didn't get this in the oversized treatment. John Byrne's art, well, good. I don't know if I necessarily need it in the oversized treatment. I'm pretty happy with these standard size hardcovers. I mean, I've never read this before. I'm just happy to own a copy of these and finally read the run on that basically redefines Superman, the character, from what I've heard. John Byrne going over to DC to write this. And Superman, a character that, not my favorite character, but I've enjoyed some stuff over time that I've read of his. I'm literally looking forward to reading this because this is definitely one of those runs. I've heard huge Superman fans, the reason why they're fans of the character is because of this run. So I think they're going to come out with at least one more hardcover, and I've been told if they are going to collect some of the other miniseries and stuff that he did at the time or some other material, it could go into 4 hardcovers. Apparently there's enough material depending how they split it up. So but yeah, there's 2 volumes out so far, the standard size hardcovers. They're very nice, and definitely check these out if you're a fan of the character. If you've never read John Byrne stuff, I heard it's great. And then finally, we're getting to some omnibuses to close out this episode. I've never read the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee stuff on X-Men. This is during the time that this was, again, this is a very out-of-print omnibus that Marvel had out of print for a very long time. This came out long ago when I was probably not into collecting collected editions at that point in time, and yet alone omnibuses, or probably just getting back into the hobby. So I was very happy that they re-released this book. Of course, you hear lots of things about Jim Lee's X-Men, and this is when Chris Claremont was still writing the book before Jim Lee took over, and this was before they turned it into the adjectless X-Men, where it was just X-Men, and they relaunched it with the number 1 X-Men, which I think is still the number 1 selling comic book of all time back in the 90s, right? So this is when it was still Uncanny X-Men. Chris Claremont was still at the helm writing this, and Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri came on the book, and this is kind of, when they got to kind of get known prior to moving over to Image. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this. Some of this stuff may not read well today, but I've made a point of trying to collect all of the main Chris Claremont X-Men omnibuses, so I was very happy to finally own this as part of my collection. So yeah, this is great that they re-released this. Again, this was out of print for a long time, so if you're into this, hopefully it's still in print for you to check out. X-Men Volume 1, this is the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee one, and Volume 2 will be coming out soon. Then we got Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian. This is the original Marvel years. This is the Savage Sword of Conan magazine, the more mature stuff than the Conan series that was going on at the same time. Also written by Roy Thomas. This is art by John Buscema. And this is basically all black and white. Very nice art. It does have some articles and stuff, like prose pieces throughout, because this was the magazine that was more aimed at adults at that time for this character. and they've been coming out with these in omnibus form, and it looks like they're going to continue throughout the whole run, but I think I'll be jumping ship with this volume. I think this concludes pretty much the majority of the Roy Thomas stuff with this omnibus volume 4. Same with the omnibus volume 4 of the main series outside of Savage Sword of Conan, just the Conan the Barbarian series through Marvel. So I think I might be done with the Conan omnibuses with these Roy Thomas stuff, because I heard the Roy Thomas stuff is the best, although great artists continue on the series with under different writers. But from what I've been told, his stuff was the best. So I've read, I think, the first volume of the Savage Sword of Conan, so I'm looking forward to getting to these someday. And last but not least, this is the Infinity Crusade omnibus, written by Jim Starlin, at least the main Infinity Crusade miniseries that's in this omnibus that I have read. Although I haven't read any of the other tie-ins that are contained in this omnibus, but this does complete the trinity of basically the trilogy of the Infinity Gauntlet trilogy. It was Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, and then Infinity Crusade. This came out in the 90s, and yeah, I've read the miniseries. I love the Marvel Cosmic stuff. I love Jim Starlin stuff around this era. I've heard that a lot of the tie-ins are not very good, because it is the 90s, and they did do one of those wide line events that kind of went through all the books. So obviously, some of the quality is gonna vary from title to title. But yeah, I gotta say, I'm still happy to own this. I own the other two in omnibus format as well, so of course I had to complete the trilogy with this one. And I do very much at least like the Jim Starlin Infinity Crusade miniseries. So I'm looking forward to checking out some of the other stuff that was contained in this omnibus as well, some of the other tie-ins. I'm sure there is some good things here. You definitely got the Warlock and the Infinity Watch issues here. You got the Warlock Chronicles here. So yeah, there's some other things that Jim Starlin had wrote in here, which I'm sure I'll enjoy. Yeah, you got Tom Rainey on art for that one, Ron Lim on art for the Infinity Crusade book. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this one. All right, well, that about does it for my January 2021 comic book hauls and reviews for you guys here today. Check us back in about a week from now, and I will be posting up my February comic book hauls and reviews for 2021. And moving forward, I hope to be bringing these out very early in the month. Every month from now on. Let me know what you thought in the comments, if you liked the format of the video, if you liked how long I kind of spent reviewing each book that I talked about in the video. Let me know if you like what you saw here today, and your feedback is appreciated as always. Alright, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.